So tonight, talking same side power. So obviously, when you're going to run power, everyone runs some form of gap scheme. Everybody pretty much knows why they want to run power if they're running power already. But you got to have a downhill run that satisfies that need in your offense. I believe that you have to have something with your offensive line, with your running back, that sets the tone, sets the tempo. It's versatile. It fits against all schemes. All right. So the way we ran it, you can always, it doesn't matter what you go up against. You have rules in place to make sure it fits against all the schemes. It's a versatile play. You can run it from many different sets, right? But the key is why have the back on the same side as the H and why attack at the B gap, all right? So it integrates well with counter and GT. A lot of times against an even front, you're going to end up kicking a defensive end. It protects against backside pressure, and it keeps running back vision clear and forward, all right? So we want our running back to be straight in a downhill motion and to have his vision completely clear, right? We don't want him looking across or at an angle. We want him to be able to look straight downfield, see what's happening in front of him. The backside pressure part's important as well. A lot of times, the team will try to send stuff off the backside and make the play there. I think it protects the backside of the quarterback, helps protect the running back there, and a lot of defenders don't really know how to come off the edge and attack it, and they'll end up washing up field. Big part of it for us. So first thing I want to kind of get into before we get into power is some things that I think all offensive coaches need to know how to do. We used to have power as our main run play, right? That was our bread and butter. We went to it whenever we needed it, whenever we needed a play. We weren't sure what to do. Let's get into our base. Let's run power, but let's use other things around it to make sure we're protecting that play. When you protect your plays, you protect your players, right? You're not just going to let the defense tee off on you. So a few things you can do in your offense to always think about when you're coming up with a play or implementing a scheme. Always think about the motions and shifts you're going to work with that play. For power, we used our H-back motioning back and forth, what we call our hop motion. And we also had a receiver motion where we'd motion our outside receiver in. He was off the ball. We'd motion him inward just to give a little eye candy for the defense, and it helps set up our play action pass. We always had a screen and an RPO. We're not going to get into depth with that tonight with power. A complementary run for power for us, that was buck sweep and ISO, something that attacked the gap. And we were able to kick out the defensive end. All right. And then one with the tackle, and then one where we allow the defensive end to squeeze and log him with the H, where we're getting buck sweep, getting to the edge of the defense. You always want to have a play action pass and then a reverse or a misdirection play. So when we built the offense, we would build all of these into power. So while we're only talking power tonight, when you think of a base run, you want to be able to think of doing all 5 of these things within your offense. All right. So B-gap power. So what that means to me is we're kicking the first down lineman past the B-gap. All right. We're not trying to run the ball at the B gap, and I think that's what a lot of coaches kind of assume when you talk about like B gap power, that we're automatically attacking the B gap. No, and most of the time when you run this play, the big plays are coming right up the A gap. If that running back can get downhill and go, that's where you're going to have success, right? Not him bouncing it or bending it back to the B gap. When he can hit the A gap and run straight down the field. That's where we always found success with this. We want our front side to build a wall. All right. A great wall, a huge wall. Build a wall, front side, play side tackle, play side guard, the center. We want that to kind of turn, if it makes sense. We want to turn the line of scrimmage into an angle, right? So we should all be down blocking, gap blocking, whether we're double teaming, and we're trying to get movement and creating a line that kind of moves where the line of scrimmage is, not moving it back, not pushing back the line of scrimmage, but almost turning it at an angle. And you'll see with some plays what I mean by that. Um, we don't ever, when B gap, running B gap, we don't want the tight end down blocking at the point of attack. He's not going to be our strongest blocker, so we're not going to rely on him. Most of the time, if we have a tight end, he's either kicking out or moving to linebacker. All right, we're not going to make him responsible for a big part, being part of the play at the point of attack if he's not one of our better blockers. And we don't want our play side tackle gapping down on a 4-eye. I know most teams will do that, but when we get a 4-eye or a 4 technique, we're not going to rely on that play side tackle to solo that 4-eye. And it's just bad leverage. And if you get beat, it blows up the play. So we eliminate that completely by the rules. Good with me so far, Kyle?
Yep, makes sense.
Okay. Some of that may not be true for all coaches there. All right. So front side, what I call the wall. All right. We want our play side tackle, play side guard. We want their rule to be gap down backer. Now, they're going to end up double teaming. That's our basic rule. But just in case we have guys in gaps, we want their rule to be gap down backer. That way, if they start moving people around, things start going crazy, get back to your base rules. Gap down backer. All right. And once they learn that gap down backer concept, I have a guy in the gap or a guy down on the next guy or a linebacker. Once they get that concept, then we start the double team. Okay. So anything for B gap power, if I'm kicking the first guy past the B gap, that means I'm kicking a 4-eye, a 4, a 5, or anything outside. So a 3 technique would be my widest guy I double team on. And my tackle guard, from what I learned, I want them to double team a 3, a 2, a 2-eye, and I even want them to try to double team down to the shade. If there is a shade on the center to the play side, I want the tackle and the guard to try to double team the shade to the backside linebacker. I don't want the center touching it. I want it movement, and I want them sprinting to it. Okay? So the guard is responsible for that call. All right? So if he's going to be double teaming with the tackle, we're going to make a gut call. All right? Or just something you'd eat. So a lot of times my guys would go hamburger. We realized or knew it was a gut call, but they would pick out fast food, something that sat in the gut. So we weren't making the same call every time. If we have a nose, the play side guard and the center will double team it, and it's a Glock or a gun or something like that. So we're not using the same word every time, pistol. However they want to term that. But that kind of gives the offensive lineman a base way to communicate without telling them exactly what word to use, that they can kind of have fun with it. Right? So main double team is going to be our play side guard, play side tackle. We're double teaming the first guy inside of the B gap. All right. And that's the key. The further the guy is to the center, the less the tackle's involved. If he is a 2-eye or he's an A gap player, really I want my offensive tackle just taking his inside shoulder to elbow and running it through the guy's hip and then getting straight to linebacker. Right? I don't want him getting too far invested. I want him to punch, hit, move to next level. All right. If it's a 3 technique, obviously the tackle has to stay on it heavy, right? And we got to get good movement from the guard. And then their eyes on linebacker, eyes on backside linebacker, wherever he goes. I mean, that's who's coming off. All right. And it's always going to be the backside linebacker for the double team. My center is on backside is his rule. So first thing on him, which we considered head up to backside. All right. If it's a shade, he would have to get a call from the guard to take the shade. Right. So only if we're in a situation where we're having trouble with the shade or the tackle makes a loop call that we'd go ahead and have the center normally block away. He would then, with that block call, he would make a double team with the guard. Does that make sense to you, Kyle?
Yeah, the loop, I'm a little...
so...
Didn't quite pick up all that on the loop portion there.
Gotcha. Loop call. So, let's say we're seeing a 3-4. All right, you got an odd front team. They got a 4-eye. we're going to kick that 4-eye, right? We're kicking the first guy past the B gap. So we're going to go ahead and kick the 4-eye. That means that offensive tackle is not able to down block on the 4-eye. So he's got to go somewhere. So if they walk up an edge outside the 4-eye, he's going to loop outside, take that guy. That's what we consider a loop call. If there's no edge guy walked up, he's outside releasing the second level, right? And he's looking for the next guy in the box. All right?
Yeah, traditionally we've called that, I know I'm different than you, but we've called that arc. So that's what I was thinking. I didn't quite get the loop reference, but arc, yeah, makes a lot of sense.
I found it easier for my kids to yell loop, and for some reason they remembered it better. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of kids struggle with geometry. I think you know a little bit about that.
Yeah. But yeah, so if we see a 3-4 and we get a head up 4, now if it's a head up 4 and the offensive tackle is very confident he can inside release and go, or if we're facing a 3-3 stack team, we definitely want that offensive tackle inside releasing and trying to get to that Mike linebacker, right? Yeah. And then we'll double team to the backside with the center guard, and then we'll be pulling for the front side linebacker. So 3-3 stack, head up 4 or outside 5. Definitely got to get to that Mike linebacker. Otherwise, if you have a 4-eye or a 4 technique that's going to be trying to cross your face, usually if they're playing that, there's going to be some walk up from the outside. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, to a tight end?
Yeah. Well, no tight end. No tight end. Usually we'd get that walk up anyway.
Depends.
If tight end, then you're definitely going to have a walk up, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but that 4-eye, we're definitely going to make a loop call. We're going to get either around the outside or kick out, and that's just going to tell play side guard and center they got to double and work to backside.
Makes sense.
Okay. Superhero call is just that if there's any situation where, hey, maybe I do have to down block. Maybe there's we have a 3 technique and a shade situation going on where they're stacking gaps.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't go double team with you. You're on your own. You got to be a superhero, right? So we'd make a superhero call, and
or like a backer showing or something like that.
Yeah, someone walks up last second in the gap, like trying to shoot the B gap. Hey, we're just gonna take it. We just yell Superman or Chuck Norris or something like that. Some superhero.
Like Chuck Norris. You guys should just tell a Chuck Norris joke during that.
Greatest superhero of all. Right. So, backside rules. Backside guard, he's pulling the wrap for first off the ball defender play side. The key is for him staying square. And he's got to aim for the inside shoulder of the linebacker. A lot of times you see if a guard pulls and his shoulders turn out, he's not going to end up getting to the inside shoulder of that linebacker, right? He's going to play it too wide. That's why it's crucial for them to stay square. For me, I would rather my guards be slower to the point of attack and then just lock on when they get there. I don't need them to make a huge block or run somebody over. I just need them to fit properly on those linebackers. So it's more important that they stay square than they get there fast and hard, right?
Why are you aiming for the inside shoulder?
Why are we aiming for the inside shoulder? I think it'd be good once I can show you film, but
that's fine.
It creates a good crease in the defense.
Yeah.
It also gives us a better aiming point and a way to stay square. But if you see, it basically becomes if you're to think of a cross block between your play side tackle down blocking and your pulling guard going the opposite way, they're going to almost cross each other.
Yeah.
So that it's going to create a seam right there between the two. That makes sense to you?
No, I say that because, traditionally, I'm a quarters guy. We would go ahead and, like you said, our backers role was basically, in theory, to spill that, was to not give up the inside shoulder. Because it was important to us to try to get it to either bounce out to the star or let the other linebacker give him more time to overlap, because obviously he's got a double team coming his way. So we teach him that, you got to overlap. So this guy's going to insert, this guy's going to overlap. Traditionally, that's how we taught it. We changed it a little bit in past years, but I was curious on that because we definitely tell that. We're like, don't, spill that guy. Make sure he ends up on your outside because we want to make sure we get that overlap and we seal that inside portion of the gap.
So to flip it back on you, why don't you want him to be taken by his inside shoulder?
Because we want it to bounce, right? In a quarters team, we have that overhang, that star or the Sam, whatever you want to call it. So ultimately, hopefully the end spills and the backer spills, and we create havoc in there, and the ball bounces out to the star. Typically, that overhang player, traditionally in our defense, is our best player.
And that's exactly
he's our most
what
athletic,
happens.
versatile, and he can tackle.
That's exactly what happens when we don't stay square to the line of scrimmage with our guard and get the inside shoulder. That's why we want that. We want the ball to be going straight down the field,
Yeah.
right?
We don't want you going
to
vertical.
bounce it. We don't want to bend it. We want to go vertical, right? We want to get vertical as quick as we can on this play. So that's why. I mean, so the same reasons, opposite sides, right?
Yeah.
Backside tackle, protect the B gap, wash the edge. Just making sure we have no one blitzing, no one coming through too hot through the B gap. If you have to help, if the center needs help, he can call for help. But otherwise, you're just going to take that edge defender and you're going to let him wash you. Okay.
So talk about how you teach the backside with a 4-eye. All right. People run the tight front a whole bunch now. I know on the front side you said you're going to hit it tighter, but in theory the center is, correct me if I'm wrong, doubling on the on the nose, the zero nose. So that backside tackle has to cut it off. How do you teach that?
Cut him. Cut him. Take his knees out.
I mean, right. That's the easy answer.
Yeah, that's the easy thing to do. When in doubt, cut him. Make sure he doesn't take that B gap.
Yeah.
But if you can reach him. Ultimately, I would be better if my guy could just kind of like basketball box him out.
Yeah.
Kind of rip through and box out. I prefer the defenders on the backside to get vertical upfield. I want them going after the quarterback and running back because it takes them out of the play. They're running themselves out of the play when they do it.
And
I don't want them getting inside pressure. I don't want them staying at the line of scrimmage. I want them going upfield.
It's music to our ears because we're always screaming about getting flat, don't get upfield, stay flat, work down the line. And so when you hear an offensive guy, it's like, oh, we want him to get vertical. It's like, all right, well, at least we're coaching something right, because if that's not what the offense wants, then we're doing something correct. So.
At least I do. I prefer the backside. I want them vertical. It creates seams. It gets them out of the play, out of the way, and our running back's going to be gone by the time they get there. So, and you'll actually see, I think even in, I only have a couple clips, but I think in those few clips, you'll see where that works. Our blocking back, RH, he's going to kick the first D lineman past the B gap. Okay, so he's looking for 4-eye, 4 or 5 technique and beyond. If that defender squeezes too much and he's really sold on getting inside, which I'll show you a clip on, we're going to log him, which just means we're just going to shoot the outside hand for the outside shoulder and wrap him up inside and run the feet. The guard has to be aware of that and be fitting off that, and you'll see how that works in. When we log, everything will squeeze down and that guard's pull will stay square, and he's going to fit right off the edge of that H-back.
All right, so sorry, I'm going to keep stopping you because I got questions galore.
Stop me.
All right, so the H, we're talking about kicking. Now, I'm going back to the tight front thing. Obviously, he's got to change his alignment based on a 4-eye or a 5 or even whatever. No, he's always the same. Where do you guys typically align that H?
Yeah, we're going to split the outside leg of the guard. We're going to split the outside leg of the guard. So his crotch will be right down the outside leg. And
so how do you teach?
The only thing that changes is the only thing that's changing is where he takes his step.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so that's
if it's a 4-eye, we teach him more or less to go straight forward out of the stance. He's coming straight forward and then kicking.
Right? Gotcha. So he's trying to get a good step upfield and then out.
Upfield and out, pretty much, is how it happens.
Okay, and then
if it's a 4-eye, if not, he's coming right at the hip of the offensive tackle.
All right, and then you briefly talked about log, and you said talking about pinning it and everything. So go into slightly more detail on that, because obviously, look, every defensive coach in here that runs any kind of quarters, for the most part, some 1-highs will box it, but really at the high school level, like, your answer is to always squeeze and spill, because we don't have elite players all the time, so it's a lot easier to teach a kid to squeeze and spill than it is to box or dent or something else like that. So talk about how you teach it when a team's very good and very disciplined at squeezing, like how you guys log that correctly, and what are the finer points of, getting that guy logged correctly.
So it takes a while to learn. I think when you install power, Learning how to execute it properly from the H and the guard takes a lot of time and a lot of repetition. From my experience, it takes all the way till about, I don't know, week 2 or week 3 of the season if you install it day 1. So, you're looking at several weeks to where you can actually get good at it. And I think we don't really get good at it until we install Buck Sweep, right?
Yeah.
So on Buck Sweep, what we're doing is we're going to attack the defensive end the same way with the H, but he knows from the set that he's logging him. He's getting outside leverage and running his feet upfield. We're not trying to just turn our hips on the guy. We're trying to put our face mask in his outside shoulder, run him up inside, and get vertical movement. So when we say to log, what we're seeing is we're seeing a squeeze out of that guy that where we cannot possibly kick him, right? He's already reached the point that he's squeezed so far down, he's already shut this gap down. So we're just going to take his outside arm. I'm already out of position. I'm going to run my outside arm through his outside part of the chest or his shoulder, and we're going to run our feet and work him back inside. I'm not even worried about my inside hand. We're just wrapping him up inside. All right. And we'll have a play where we actually show it and we can go through it. And then the hardest part is teaching that backside guard. Stay square, stay patient. If you see that guy jump inside and you see that H not kick, that's where your eyes have to be. You got to fit outside of that.
Yeah, that was always a good point because I know early on we would just squeeze and spill really hard, and we saw our guys getting logged, and we're like, what's the answer to this? And the answer was, after we teach them, once you spill it, rip and get vertical. And because on Buck Sweep, we have an opportunity now to take out 2 pullers. Because what were happening is the guy was ripping and get vertical, and he may have only taken 1 step and fallen down, but he was absolutely wiping out the second blocker on Buck Sweep or pin and pull. And then on the flip side, every once in a while on power, he would rip and get vertical and like literally not even on purpose fall right into the running back and get a tackle for loss. So that was one thing we were like, we don't ever want to waste a guy. Where do they not want us to go? Well, after we spill and close down the B gap, now they don't want us to go vertical on play side. So that's where we want to go. So
no, we can't allow vertical on play side's a no-no, right? Yeah. We can have vertical on the backside. That doesn't matter. Vertical on play side cannot happen on power, right? That's why we're double teaming. That's why we're trying to get our kick or log. Our theory, though, if he's going to play inside, he can't go inside and then upfield.
Yeah.
We can't allow that to happen.
Right. And that's where once we kind of started teaching the kids that, they didn't always, right? It wasn't perfect every time. Sometimes, look, they just got logged because the guy was better than them. But if they happened to be a better player or an equal player and they were quick enough about it, they would just fall in the way. And again, it wasn't like our guy was ripping perfectly through and getting vertical and making a Jadeveon Clowney hit. It was like the guy stumbles into the running back's knee and you're like, great tackle for loss, right? Like there was no real skill there other than just doing what you were told and getting lucky. But it was a game changer for us when we started doing that, because all of a sudden we just no longer were just wasting a guy for a guy, right? Because that's what, when we spill a lot, we're just wasting a guy for the sake of making the ball bounce. But now we have a chance to make a play too. So definitely a game changer. Let's get back to it. All right, the running back is where we're at here.
Yeah, so running back, important stuff here, because the tempo is set by the running back. He doesn't have to go full speed. We used to teach, so we're 75% until we see that wall form, and then we're sprinting down the side of that wall from the play side offensive line. Look more for that wall to develop than you're looking for anything else to happen, right? But so that's why he's looking for the first defender inside the B gap. We're looking for that double team. Where's that double team happening? Where's my wall setting up? And we're looking to hit it just outside of that wall. So pre-snap, he should be be aiming for the play side foot of the center, right?
Yeah.
He's going to sidestep, eyes downhill, looking at that first defender. Aiming point, body turn should be to the inside foot of the center, or the play side foot of the center. The center doesn't have an inside foot. And then, we're looking to go downhill. If we got to bend it back to the B gap, we can, but we're looking to jam it right down. Even though it's B gap power, we're looking to push it down the A gap. Bend to B. If you get a squeeze and a log, we're going to bounce it to the edge, right? And when I say bounce it to the edge, usually it's going to fit right off where the B gap was. Yeah. So it's not even going to be that far out, because we'll usually still be inside the pulling guard. right? It's just going to happen a little bit different. You'll see that as we get into that portion of it. Well, okay. Tight end role. How does the tight end fit into everything? Like I said before, I do not believe in having a tight end down block on a down lineman inside of him at the point of attack. You're setting yourself up for disaster, right? You want those guys doing it every single day, doing it to their best ability. I don't think throwing a tight end in there, even if he's a dude, I just don't like it. So when we created this, that's why I made the kick the first thing past the B gap. If the situation occurs for the tight end that the first D lineman, head up or outside of him, is the kick guy, then they're going to have an extra defender in the box, right? Because the only situation that's really going to come into play is if they're they're in an over front, and then they're playing either head up on the tight end or outside the tight end like a 9.
Yeah.
All right, and if they're doing that, chances are they've pushed the linebacker into the box. All right, so now they've added one linebacker into the box on the play side. So now we have to account for that guy. So in that one situation, that linebacker will be taken care of by the tight end, right? So you'd have your Sam walk back into the box. That's now the tight end's guy. The Mike is going to be probably play side A, and against this over front, he's the guy we're pulling for. He's our play side linebacker. And then our Will is going to be our backside that we double team to. Does that kind of make sense to you? I think that's where a lot of people kind of get lost in this. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, everybody builds that box differently. But yeah, in theory, you're adding another guy to the box, whether it's the backside safety, the Sam, whoever you want to call it. So there's different ways to build that box, but I get what you're saying.
So I guess what I'm saying, if I have an H and a tight end on the same side, you're going to add something down to the H or tight end side, right? I haven't encountered many defense adding something to the weak. If they want to add to the weak side, go ahead.
Well, we bump guys. We bump guys when we do it and things. So yeah,
something's got to move over there to the string, right? You're not going to leave 2 linebackers backside and have one on the front side.
Yeah. To be honest, if you're in 21 personnel, I'm probably not nickel anyway, so it doesn't matter.
You're probably not in an overfront either.
No, probably.
But if you are in the overfront, this is how we handle it.
Correct.
Otherwise, the tight end's just going to have first guy head up or outside of him, as long as our kick guy's inside of him. So that usually handles any odd fronts we have, odd or under fronts or anything like that.
Yeah,
taken care of, right? So just if they have the over front where they run the wide ends and stuff like that, heck, run it. Let's go. But the tight end has to know in that situation, he can't block the kick guy. He's got to go to the extra linebacker.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Rules. Got him. Okay.
I just want to make sure
I was clear about what we were talking about. Now I got to figure out how to stop sharing this. There. Okay. So now I'm going to pull up our quick cut. And
that's right. We use quick cut in case everybody's wondering.
Yeah, quick cut. Like and subscribe. All right.
It's Matt's first time using quick cut, so good Lord.
It really is.
That went super wide.
At least in this.
There we go.
Where I got to share. Okay, we can see it?
Yep.
All right. So, talked about one of the things you need to be able to do is protect your plays. Protect your plays, protect your players. This was our hop motion. So basically we knew that facing this team, they would be an over front to the H. So we said, hey, we're just going to line them up, shift them over. We want to run it against an under front. We'll be able to dictate what we want to do, right? So we hop him over. He's a little bit wide in his alignment here, as you can see, when he motions over. Typically, those guys have a tendency to do that and not keep tight to the guard. But ideally, that H would be splitting the outside leg of the offensive guard. Running back's good alignment there. He doesn't need to have too much depth. When we snap the ball, he should just be stepping inside. So this is going to be power to the left. So we should see our play side tackle coming all the way down through the shade to the backside linebacker. Our guards should be here. I would imagine our center, like I said, we don't want him messing with the shade. I would rather the guard and tackle double team shade to backside linebacker, and then our center working back to our 3 technique we have out here. My tackle can check the 3 technique on the backside. Backside tackle, he can check the 3 technique to the edge rush. Pulling guard should be pulling, staying flat, square, and working to our backside linebacker. All right. So we're just going to slow play through this. Look at okay there for you, Coach.
Yep.
Okay. So if you're watching this, left side tackle, he should be coming flatter. Okay, I don't like his angle there. He should be coming flat down the line like he's going to the shade. See how he kind of overruns it there and realizes it? He got too deep too quick. Okay. He should be coming flat because those linebackers should be coming off the hips of those defensive linemen. Yes or no, Kyle?
Yeah, he definitely takes a big angle upfield and gives the ability to kind of backdoor it, if you will.
And see how he gives that opportunity to that backside linebacker.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be. All right. And if that nose decides to stun out, we need his help, right? So he's got to stay flatter. My play side guard should be down blocking here on the shade. Get back to it. Went too far. A little bit too much for me, given too much on it, and he should be working a little bit flatter. He kind of stops his feet after the second foot step, but hey, we're getting to the right people. My H, looking at the kick, he's put himself in a decent position there. His eyes are right through the inside shoulder. Hands are a little wide, but we're good. My backside guard, pulling, stays flat, nice and flat, exactly what we just talked about. And his eyes should be getting to the inside of that linebacker and fit. And if you see here, we're starting to build that wall with the center and guard, or the guard and the tackle right here. And that's where our running back should be running, right off the hip of the offensive tackle, straight downhill.
And there he goes. Does he get caught here?
Well, of course he got caught. He was not very fast.
Oh,
the running back was not very fast. And guys, he was a very good downhill runner. He did not have a lot of speed to him, right? He really didn't. I think he ran, we timed him in between a 4.8 and a 4.9 most times.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on the kid. It just, how special he was at running the football was incredible. But he didn't have to be fast. You don't have to have a speed to run power. That's the great thing about power. You can run it with, it's better with tempo. If you have a guy that's just going to sprint up in there, a lot of times he's going to run into what's going on. But a guy that can step, get his eyes downfield and play with vision is more important here, and play with tempo. Backside tackle, sets inside, then works out. Exactly what we're looking for. I wish he'd run him upfield further. I want to see that backside defensive end run upfield.
You're not taught to do that, Matt.
Well,
maybe there. I'm not sure.
Okay. Let's go to the other play. This is going to be kind of a mess at first. Here we go. Find my spot. All right. So, and this is from a sideline view. We get a true 3-4 here, one high safety. It's okay. We're still all right. We're going to be outmanned a little bit with the linebacker in this scenario, but we're still confident in what we do, so I'm okay with it. The main point is watching the squeeze. All right. So the squeeze from the defensive end on this side, we're running power here towards the bottom of the screen. Watch this defensive end try to squeeze inside and beat our H inside. Because my pulling guard has stayed square, he's able to get around that edge and meet the linebacker on the edge. And that's what we're looking for. Now I have my H is now set the wall, and my pulling guard is met the linebacker in a different location. So now we're just hitting a little bit wider than what we did before, right? And if you really look at where everybody was to begin the play, the defensive end ends up in the B gap, right? And we just end up a little bit wider when we get that squeeze.
Who's this against?
This is against Haggerty.
Oh, I hear they love Snapchat at Haggerty.
That was this game. That was.
In case you guys are wondering, that's a DM me for the story one right there.
Yeah, you gotta ask us about that story. But same thing. Running back keeps his eyes downhill, and because he's able to keep his eyes downhill, he goes to the double team first, and then as soon as he sees that end cross in the face, he knows to get in behind the pulling guard and hit the crease.
Yeah.
Not a big explosive play on this one, but exactly what we're looking for. And it took us till week 3 in this season. That's why I referenced week 3 to really understand how to do this, even practicing it daily. And you got to practice it. You got to set it up and force a squeeze and let the running back see it between your running back, your H, and your backside pulling guard. You got to rep that. You got to have a way to practice that with whether you're on shields or on JV players, however you're going to set it up. But you got to be able to work that if you're going to run power and you're going to be able to run it effectively.
Yeah, no doubt.
We'll go to the next play. All right. Same play. We're going to motion across again. And we get pretty much the same result. I think this is just like a play later or something. Another squeeze. If he's squeezing, just take him down inside.
Does he actually squeeze inside the tackle there? Yeah, he does.
No, tackle beats him.
Oh, no. Yep, sorry.
That's the H.
The film quality. Sorry.
Film quality is not good. It's not good.
It's not our best.
Not good. So, once again, we get a good squeeze from the end. That's fine. If he's gonna try, it looks like he's trying to rip through.
Yeah.
If he's gonna rip and give you your back, give him your back. Just run him. Take his back, run him up inside, and condense everything down. If he's gonna try to condense it down, let him. Once again, we get pulling guard. I don't like his leverage there. Should be inside shoulder. But ultimately, it works out.
Yeah, him and the backer scraping over top end up getting so wide that the power actually hits inside of it.
Yeah, they're pretty much running it. I don't know if you remember this game, but first play of the game, it's a great clip, but it wasn't much function for tonight. First play of the game, they overran the whole play, and we hit backside A-gap for 80 yards.
Yeah.
To the house, just because the linebackers were flowing so hard. And a lot of times you'll get that. When the linebackers are flowing really hard, like I said at the beginning, if the linebackers are flowing really hard, hitting the play side to backside A-gap on this play is the most lethal. Most lethal.
Yeah, we would have this argument time and time, not argument, but spirited debate in the coach's office. If you, let's just say we're an over front and you're running power to the 3-tech, the backside shade, should he cross the center's face or not? And my answer is always like, well, look, if he's not a very good player, let's leave him back there and let him close the A-gap because our backers are coming over top. Because if he crosses face and the backers come over top, guess what? There's no one backside for the backside A-gap. And that's where it'll end up, that cutback hits just like that.
There's nothing there